Hey everyone, and welcome to the Zone of Tech. I'm Daniel, and about a few weeks ago I did a video called HTC One M9 Final Leaks and Rumors, and almost 200,000 of you have seen my video, which clearly indicates the fact that there's a huge interest in this phone. I finally managed to get my hands on it, so let's unbox and take a first look at the brand new HTC One M9. Enjoy. So, taking a look at the box, we have an HTC One M9 logo on the front, along with this dotted texture, and if you look closely, you can see that it perfectly resembles the dot view case that we got with the M8. And the dots are also textured. Pretty cool. We have nothing interesting on the sides, and on the back we have the capacity 32 gigabytes, which at the moment is the only model you can get. And finally we get a listing of all the specs. Okay, so enough with the box, let me just get my murder knife and crack this box open. Remove the plastic foil, lift up the box, and here it is, the HTC One M9. So let's put this to the side for just 1 second and see what else we get inside the box. First, we get this leaflet that contains the SIM eject tool. Then we get a couple of repair labels that nobody cares about. We also get some weird HTC stickers that I'll probably never use. And we finally get to the interesting part. So we get a pair of red headphones exactly like the ones we got with the M8, and although they look like Beats headphones, don't be fooled because they're not Beats. They do have a remote, but it only has a single button, so you cannot control the volume with this one. We also get 2 pairs of replacement earbuds to fit your ear size. Then we get a micro USB to USB cable for charging and syncing, as well as an HTC branded power adapter. And finally, the last thing that we got inside the box is the manual, the warranty, and the safety guide. And that's it. We don't get anything else inside the box. With the M8 we got a free silicone case, but not anymore. So let's throw this thing away and take a closer look at the HTC One M9. So let's remove the plastic foil, and there you go. The HTC One M9 in all of its glory. So when you take a first look at the front of the HTC One M9, you'll notice immediately that it's essentially identical to last year's M8. In fact, if you put them side by side, you won't be able to tell one from the other. The main difference between the two is actually on the sides. So the M9 comes with a dual tone finish now, meaning that on some models the edges have a different color. So for example, on my silver model, the edges have this champagne gold finish, which definitely makes the phone look even more premium than before. Now, an issue that everyone had with the M8 was that it was incredibly slippery, and what HTC has done with the M9 is that they raised the entire front panel in order to separate the edges from the front of the phone. The phone is definitely not as slippery as before, but it's actually quite a bit thicker now than the M8. Coming in at 9.6mm thick, this is at the moment the thickest flagship smartphone. So just to give you an idea, it's almost twice as thick as an iPhone 6. But no, don't get me wrong, it still feels great. And since you're just touching the edges when you hold it, it essentially feels exactly as the M8 did, minus the slippery side. Also, just as I mentioned in my Final Leaks and Rumors video, the buttons have been relocated. So the volume button has now been separated into 2 volume up and volume down buttons, and the power button has been moved from the top to the side. Now all 3 of them have essentially the same size, but the power button has a different texture. However, HTC still hasn't figured out where to position that power button. On the M8 it was almost inaccessible because it was on the top. Here it's almost inaccessible because you always have to reach down to press it. So unlike on other phones where it almost feels natural pressing that power button, on the M9 you have to do something like this to reach it. Let's hope that they'll finally fix this with the M10. We still have that double tap to wake gesture, so in the end only putting it to sleep would be a problem. But other than that, nothing has changed much. We still get those amazing boom sound speakers, which now come with Dolby surround sound support. I have to say, they're much better than on the M8, so I was definitely really impressed by those. The specs have also been improved. We now get 3 gigabytes instead of 2 gigabytes of RAM, and we also get that new Snapdragon 810 processor, which at the moment is the most powerful chip from Qualcomm. And what can I say? It's fast. It's really fast. I mean, in terms of the benchmarks, it simply smashed all the competition, including Apple's A8 CPU, at least in the multi-core department. And same goes for the graphics. The Adreno 430 makes all gaming incredibly smooth. I haven't noticed any lag at all. However, what I have noticed was heating. So I don't know if you remember this from my Samsung Galaxy S6 Final Leaks and Rumors video, But the reason why Samsung decided not to include a Snapdragon 810 CPU in their S6 and S6 Edge phones was because of some overheating issues that Qualcomm was having with that CPU. So at first I was actually skeptical of this. I didn't think the 810 would overheat that much. But after just some light gaming, I have to say that it does overheat. I mean, it won't burn your hands, but it's definitely something which you'll notice. So just to give you an idea, on a scale from 1 to 10, if let's say 10 was burning you, I would give this about a 7. So yeah, the HTC One M9 is a pretty hot phone. But overall, I didn't notice a tremendous improvement in terms of the performance over the M8. And that's because the M8 was already blazing fast, especially with that Sense 6 skin. And now we have the new Sense 7 skin, which performs exactly the same as the previous one. So it's really fast and really fluid. There are basically only two changes from Sense 6. The first is that we now have a more lollipop-ish look and feel, because yes, we do get lollipop with the M9 right out of the box. So we get that, and the second change is this new location-based app widget. And this is actually pretty cool. So while you're at home, you would get home-specific apps such as Netflix, games, and so on. But when you leave to work or simply go out, those apps would be replaced by productivity apps. And you can customize this in any way you want. And since this is just a widget, you can remove it whenever you want. You can assign it to a different home screen. All this without messing up your apps. Pretty cool. So far you might have noticed that we haven't had any major changes with the M9. Well, that's because I decided to leave the biggest change towards the end. So the biggest change is in terms of the camera. With the M8, everybody was complaining about how bad that 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera on the back was. And what they did with the M9 was that they replaced that with a 20 megapixel sensor. Sounds great, huh? Well, no, not really. All they did was that they simply took a sensor from Sony, smashed it on the back, and did nothing in terms of software optimization. This means that there is essentially zero noise removal, and all the pictures that you take are either extremely grainy or extremely overexposed. And same goes for the videos. The M8 had some serious exposure problems, and apparently it's the same, if not worse, with the M9. I'll definitely have to test this more in the upcoming weeks. So a pretty in-depth camera test is coming soon in my full review, so definitely thumbs up for that. Other camera changes include the ability to record in 4K, and also, in case you haven't noticed, that secondary camera on the back, the one that acted as a depth sensor for the M8, well, that one's gone. So previously with the HTC One M8, we had a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, and then we also had a 4 megapixel ultra-pixel back-facing camera. And with the M9, we have a 20 megapixel back-facing camera, and then on the front, we have that 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera that was on the back of the HTC One M8. So yeah, the back camera of the HTC One M8 is now on the front of the M9. Yeah, so you do lose 1 megapixel in detail, but you do get a much better low light performance. So again, same as with the HTC One M8, the front facing camera is actually better than the back facing one. What? Yeah, I know. So in the end, what HTC did with the M9 was that they kept everything that was already great from the M8 and yeah, improved on it. Kinda. They still haven't figured out a camera, but then again, the sensor is great, the lack of any image processing to take advantage of it is horrible. This, however, can be fixed in a software update, so I'll let you guys know if anything changes in my full review. Speaking of my full review, that one's coming in a few weeks after I get to spend more time with this, and in the meantime I have some more HTC One M9 videos, some new MacBook videos, some Apple Watch videos, and even some Samsung Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge videos. So definitely be sure to subscribe and turn on email notifications if you're interested in seeing those videos. Also, feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you in my next video. Son of Tech, signing out. Cheers.